like, well, where's that money going? I choose to spend that money on that. I choose to help, choose to give back. I think it's important too. And I think people see that, or they're starting to see that. And I think that's why we are developing a lot of relationships with a lot of other companies, and we're growing. But like, we're growing in a creative, controlled way.
Right. I just was presented with something similar. I have, I mentioned I have this co-working space in California, and it's beautifully designed. It's comparable in experience to a WeWork, but privately owned, obviously. But in order to get that up off the ground, it's 9,000 square feet, and I had investors work,
Right.
And there were about 18 months into the process, the investors, there was just an issue. And throughout that process, while I was the founder, I was the creative director, it was my concept. I was fortunate to get attached to an investor who basically funded the whole thing. Throughout that process, I felt like I was losing creative control, because eventually there comes a point where like the same thing, the board comes up and they're like, oh, but what about this? But what about that? And I'm thinking, you're losing sight of why we are amazing. Like, you're completely losing sight of the concept. Since then, the investors have gotten themselves into a little bit of trouble. And now I'm like, all right, this is an opportunity for me to kind of take that back. And it is exactly what you said. Like, I would walk away, although I created an amazing community and a lot of people who come to me weekly thanking me for what we've done. I would walk away tomorrow if in the next chapter I couldn't have the creative control to guide. And it's an organic thing, right? Like you said, you're going to grow and you're going to shift and you're going to have to like bob and weave, like you mentioned. But you can do that on your terms. Like you're the person, probably you and Matt, who have the vision and the thread to that original idea that got you all excited to start the process. You're from Michigan. How did you end up in New York?
I graduated U of M in 2001, and my girlfriend at the time was from New York. So that's kind of how Matt and I met. He was dating my girlfriend's sister, and we come from two different walks of life. But I just moved out here, wanted to figure something out, and I did, I guess. But going back to what you're saying, creative control is super important. And I think that is our motivator every day. Gives you that kind of fire underneath your butt, like to get up and make a change. And I speak very passionately from it. Like when I see CEOs talk about like the organic movement or food, and I look at them and I'm like, how are you talking about organic and health when you do not look like anything that health represents? I mean, when's the last time you went, you worked out or had a yoga sessions, or you got your, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, milk does a body good. Yeah. I mean, and we market the fact that we drink a great product, has a lot of great nutrients in it, and we stay healthy too. Right. I mean, we're health and food, together. Right. And I think a lot of people lose that.
Well, maybe, or maybe they just haven't gotten there yet. I mean, we're all evolving, right? So
I think when I see CEOs of big organic companies sit there and preaching to how great their product is, but it doesn't resemble them. I mean, organic resembles number one, health, correct? Yeah. That's why we try to move forward towards it. Right. But when they don't represent health themselves, why would I believe that? Right. To me, it's just a bunch of nonsense. So that's another thing. It's like, we represent health. This is a healthy product. This is good for you. Right. A lot of people don't think that though, because of mainstream.
Okay. So let's go back. You mentioned lactose intolerant.
Correct.
Earlier. So, I'm just going to get a little vulnerable here. I'm older. And as I get older, I recognize that my relationship with milk is not what it used to be. Like I can feel, I don't feel great when I drink milk-based products.
Yeah.
And what I don't understand, and maybe you can explain this to me, is like I spent an entire life, I was the kid who had glasses of milk. Our whole family was like that was the thing that was on the dinner table, right? So milk was a big part of our life. How do I get to a point where suddenly, is it because of the way that it's processed now?
I think, honestly, my father drinks milk every day and he's fine. And my father's 74. My mother too, she's 63 today. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday.
So again, going back to food, the way food is processed, like also probiotics, how they're so big now, is because when, you eat all these foods and they have preservatives in them and they have all this nonsense in them, there's a blockage in your gut. That's why gut digestion is so important now, because people are realizing like that there's just so many bad things, acid going on, like food just stuck in there. Intermittent fasting. We just did a thing, like a workout with Dr. Oz the other day.
Yeah.
He's a big proponent of it now. You know what I mean? It's just
intermittent fasting.
Yeah. Giving your gut a break. And I think people are starting to understand that now. But with all the food and all the preservatives and all the things that we eat, there's a fast food restaurant in every corner, or there's something, that's lasting longer, there's a blockage. Mm-hmm. And I think you don't have the right balance of bacteria, you don't have the right balance of enzymes to digest that. And I think that's why our bodies become more, resistant to more natural things as you get older, because of the way mainstream is moving forward, like make it bigger, better, and faster than it was before.
Right.
And I think when I was a kid, like there was just, I think my food was more natural than it is now.
Right. I mean, I would say that I'm not debating you because you're going to know this way better than I do. But I wouldn't say that I'm the epitome of somebody who eats crappy food. Like I tend to live a healthy lifestyle. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I do love my Mexican food.
I mean, Mexican food is super healthy for you if you eat the right stuff. You know what I mean? And gluten free.
Totally.
So.
I just think that, so I guess where I'm going with the question is like, did I get out of the habit of drinking milk? When I do buy milk, because I have 2 children, and so for many, it's always organic. It's always, it's always been high quality. I don't know if I just got out of the habit of it and then all of a sudden things changed, if it's just if it's age, if it's what, but more importantly is how do I get back to, because I think that there's now something that's deficient in me. Like I'm not getting the vitamins that come from milk. I'm not, probably my bones are going to start getting weak and all of the stuff. So for somebody, so for people who have been dairy-free-ish or using all the nut milks and stuff like that, and somebody wants to go back to that, like, is there a process? Do you just, it's a matter of buying Manhattan milk that's being processed differently?
I mean, like, I would start buying low-temp pasteurized milk and just introducing it into your diet. Like, I think it's the same thing with feeding your dog. You know what I mean? Like, I feed my dog raw, and I think a lot of people, like, have been feeding their dog kibble for a long time, want to introduce their dog to raw. So it's like incremental, it's from small increments, and basically they get the stomach power. They have the bacteria in there to start digesting it. I mean, it's like, I think in small increments, you can introduce things back into your body. I think it's just like if you were to move to another country and there was some sort of bacteria, France or wherever, like in the dairy's very rich over there, that you would probably get sick, but eventually your body would have the enzymes and bacteria within it to digest it. And I think that's the same thing here. But when you travel and you get sick, like I would get sick when I went to France, like big time from the dairy, or Mexico. But it's not because the food is bad. It's because it's more natural.
Right.
There's less preservatives in it. It's not ultra pasteurized. It's not, Tetra Pak preserved for 3 years, shelf stable, like shelf stable milk. People love that. I don't understand why people like it.
I've always been curious about that. But
people like it because it's great packaging, and it takes the thought process out of like, do I have to order it, or do I have to, I can just store it in my closet.
Right.
I mean, might as well just put it with the cleaning goods. I think like you just, like there's just a lot of things that like nutritional wise, it's just understanding. It's like, like things that are man-made are not good for you. Breads are not good for you because, it causes inflammation. You know what I mean? They're high sugar. You know what I mean? Like sugar is not good for you. Causes inflammation. Inflammation causes cancer. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, there's simple things. If I was going to eat a carbohydrate, I'm not going to eat bread. I'm gonna eat something that comes from the earth, like a sweet potato or like, barley or oat. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Those things are not good for you, but people, but they're masked where it's like, oh, it's whole grain.
What is let's switch gears for a second, your relationship with the farm that you like? So I've read that you have a relationship with a single farm. So it's very clear.
We're exclusively together.
Okay. Is it your farm or is it
we're together. We're like unified as one. There's not like any private labeling going on for anyone else. It's a project that have been working together on and working with.
How do you, as a brand, when you start with a concept and you've got a clear creative picture about what you're trying to do, and it's not just a creative picture, it's like operationally, you know what it is you're trying to achieve, and you decide we need to partner with a brand or we need to find a farm. How does that work for you? You guys just go, you have relationships. This is where I'm going with this. I truly believe that all great businesses, all great brands are great because they have great partnerships and collaboration.
I think, finding like, this was something that we took us over 10 years to find, you know what I mean? It was finding a working with someone who's amazing, making a great product was number one to us. You could private label anything anywhere, and working together for a purpose. And that's to bring something to life, bring an art to life. And this is an art. People say it's milk. Well, I think sparkling water is sparkling water, but like there's 4 million of them,
right?
But like, that was the purpose. And it's like, people ask you, well, are you a maker or are you a broker? Well, I don't know. I'm just both. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes you walk in and you end up in a pile of, what, right?
Right.
You don't expect it.
Totally.
But you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like, we try to just throw 50 things out there and see if they work.
See what fits.
This is something just organically worked, and we're super proud of it. And I think a lot of people, like, we just bought a homogenizer, are weirded out by the cream because they don't understand that natural separation is natural process between fat and fluid. So, so people are not, like, I've had 30,000 conversations about, no, it's not curdled. So we've gotten a unique homogenizer that actually mixes the fat, but doesn't take away from the quality of the product. So it just mixes it together. Right. So you don't see it on top where people get weirded out.
Yeah.
However, that's normal in other countries. So, it's a struggle. The dairy industry has just gotten a bad rap,
right?
Lately. And it's like, we're just moving upstream constantly. But I think with, just having different aspects of your business, like anything now with Instagram, with, marketing and Facebook, and you can have so many different facets to your business.
Right.
You can do podcasts, you can be a speaker, you can talk about small business, you can talk about farming, agriculture, you can talk about milk, you can talk about logistics, you can talk about the delivery business. You know what I mean? There's so many ways to make your company, viable out there. So I think that's,
getting the message out there obviously is the key. I don't know that if this is the case or not, but just based on our interaction before this, it seems like you guys are all the doers. Like you do all the things, which is great. Also, sometimes it's exhausting, right? Like when you have to be the person who, for me, for example, even, like you're there from start to finish, basically. Mm-hmm. And I do have people, like, I'm so lucky to have Catherine here who's local and, is giving me a little bit of a spoiled experience. But when you're the person who has to do all of the things, do you go to bed at night every now and then and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I lost sight or?
Well, I mean, we have, team members definitely, but, I think it's control.